check it's recording. Yep. All right, two things, we have a new homework assignment, so let's go ahead and start with that. I'm pretty sure I unlocked the door. I checked, okay? I actually checked that I unlocked the door. People are looking at me go like, Ted, how can you be so mean and lock the door? All right, so first thing first, two scratch ones. Okay, one is a scratch two, except it didn't update.
No, it came out with scratch one. That's what I was looking at this morning. I was like, wait, there's two scratch ones?
Yeah, one is supposed to be scratch two, and it's not even supposed to be here. It's supposed to be here, and it's supposed to be scratch two. I think the door might have locked itself up. I'm gonna go check. Okay, just hold on one second. Double check. It's unlocked. And then it locked itself up again. Alright. Alright, so the first thing is, we do have a new homework assignment. And the new homework assignment is based on the old homework assignment. So you're just going to add some features to it. You can start with my solution. In other words, even if someone does not turn in anything for the first programming assignment, it's still hope for the second one, because you can start with my solution and just change it. So it's up to you to decide how you want to do it. I'm going to display the homework assignment as soon as the projector is ready. Yep.
When did you post it onto Moodle?
Just this morning.
All right, because I checked right before I left and I didn't see it.
And it's time to turn on my ringer. I don't want to be the first one. See, the door locked itself. It's spooky. And nobody's there, even more spooky. That's even more spooky. It's like, okay, but nobody's there. Yeah, over the weekend, I updated my CyanogenMod operating system, and for some reason the phone app was draining my battery like there's no tomorrow. I think 80% of the energy drain was out to the phone app itself, and I wasn't even on the phone. I was just putting it in my pocket. Screen, I didn't even use it. It was draining a lot of battery. So, but after I updated it last night, everything went back to normal. So, sometimes that's the risk of running a nightly operating system. A nightly means it's recompiled every night, so they incorporated all the changes that are submitted, but probably without a whole lot of testing first.
Yep. I remember that CyanogenMod too, and it turned out it was just using it to connect to 4G. It would always be connected, and it would drain its battery like in half a day and be dead.
Yeah, it wasn't the 4G that was using up all the power. It was just the phone app itself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on the phone. I wasn't using the 4G. It was just draining it. Because I look at my the bandwidth usage, because it can calculate and give you a warning by the time you get to a certain bandwidth. It wasn't tripping at all. I was using way below the limit. Anyway, here's your new homework assignment. Basically you still have to use Scratch to do it. What you're going to do is to place a limitation of how many times a user or the player can guess the number. In this case, you want to put an upper limit of 10 tries. So within 10 tries, the player has to find the solution. If a user cannot get the correct answer in 10 tries, you want to just end the game and then display a message indicating to the user that he or she should be able to guess the right answer in 7 guesses. If the user does get the right solution, you still have to indicate, oh, good job, you got the right solution in 10 guesses or whatever number. Is that okay? So you're changing, you're adding conditional branches to the final outcome. And then also each time the sprite, the scratch, character, and some of you submitted some really interesting sprites, so thanks for that. I think 2 people use Alec Trebek, and the Jeopardy music. So each time the sprite asks for an input, indicate the trial number. This is trial 1, okay? Input a number. This is trial 2, input a number. So you want to integrate that into your program as well.
You want the sprite to say that, right? This is the
Right. Either say or think, the prompt.
The sprite has to say it?
The sprite has to say the question, the
1.
prompt has to do it. It's the same way, when it asks a question, you can do the same thing as, say or think.
Because it seems that you can put the variable inside what he's saying. We should be changing the number of tries.
Yeah, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll show you guys a little bit of how to do that. So,
I didn't know
okay.
it recognized the variable.
Okay, I can just make it very simple here. Instead of making this program exactly what you need for your homework assignment, I will make it close enough, and then you have to think about how to integrate it into your homework assignment. So my variable name is tag, okay? All right, so I want the sprite to integrate a part of the variable or the content of a variable in what it's going to output, or yeah, I think I'll just use output here. So instead of saying hello, you can go to variable and drag a variable into it. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a variable. You can go to operator and drag any operator into it. I think it's even a true false one can go into here. So it will show you true false. You can also put other things into it. So I think what you really want to use is the join operation, because it allows you to put 2 things together. So one thing is just literal, and the other thing is a variable. And you can also have joins inside joins. So I can show you how to do that too. So you can put a join into here, put another join into here, put another join into here. So now I have 4 slots. And each slot can be a different thing. I can have a variable for the first slot, something literal for the second slot, another variable for the third slot, and then something literal for the last slot. Okay? So I can do something like this. Okay, I can drag tag into the first one. Another variable, I don't have another variable, but I can put it into here. And then the rest, I can just keep it the same way as it is. So if I go to control, put an end to the program. Some people did not put an end script, or stop script at the very end. I didn't take any points off, but it's a good idea to put an end at the end of the program. So when I do it this way, I will set the variable first, okay? So I'm going to set the variable here. Suppose I can change that here. Nope, okay. Let's just go ahead and set it here. Blah, blah, blah. And I run the program, it's a blah, 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 hello, blah, 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 world. But it's all kind of in one big blob because I didn't leave any space. So if you want it to look right, you put a space before the hello, and you put a space after world, before world. So this way the program has the proper spacing. And I want to make it say for, let's say, a little bit longer so we can actually see the answer. So blah, 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 hello, blah, 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 world. So that's how you can integrate a variable, the content of a variable, along with things that are actually literal, not from variables. Any questions about this part? So I think this will be helpful. This is not the first time I show this, I think, but it's definitely going to be helpful. In fact, anything, you can put this expression into not only say, but also into sensing. In other words, this ask part, you can do the same thing. You can say, you can just duplicate this and stash it into here. So that's basically your answer. That's what you need for a part of your homework assignment. All right. Now, obviously, you're not going to use the variable name called tag with blah 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 as its content. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide what variable you have to put into a construct like that. Are there any questions at this point about this homework?
So we're just limiting the number of tries.
Right, you have to get out within 10 trials. But if the user, okay, let me make it more clear because I think I may not have made it clear enough. So I'm going to make it a little bit more clear. All right, so it's right there. I want to maximize it. Okay, there we go. Okay. If the user got the right answer before 10 tries, stop. Congratulate the user and stop game. Okay? So you have to make a distinction.
So you just ask a question and then.
It's the same way as last time. Basically you're asking a question, and it's just like last time. You keep asking, and then you have to keep prompting. Okay, the answer is higher or lower. Your guess is too high or your guess is too low. If the user gets to the right answer before 10 tries, you have to get out and then say, congratulations, you got the right answer. On the other hand, if the user keeps guessing the wrong answer and have used up all 10 tries, then you have to say, oh, you have used up all 10 tries, you should be able to do it within 7 to begin with. Sorry, try again, next time, and then you end the game. So there are 2 ways to end the game. Is that okay? So it's the same way as last time. Okay, it's basically the same game as last time. I'm just putting a restriction of 10 tries this time. Up to 10 tries. Are there any questions? Yep.
So the same times is just, I'm telling them, you're a loser because you didn't get it 7 times. Usually it's supposed to be 7 times. I don't incorporate 7 times anywhere in the program, right?
You just in your message, when you output the message, you just say 7 times. Right. Yep. Now some of you may be able to make it a little bit better. In other words, I saw only one person use a variable to indicate the minimum and one variable to indicate the maximum. So if you know the range, you can actually use log to figure out what is the maximum number of times that is required to get to the right answer. So you can actually calculate the 7 instead of putting a hard-coded 7. But for this class, we can just hard-code it to 7, because it's not a math class. I don't want you guys to have to spend too much time to figure out, oh, okay, it is the log of the range divided by the log 2 to get to the right number of times to get to the right answer. So just hard-code it to 7. In other words, this part here indicate to the user that he or she should be able to guess the right answer in 7 tries. That's just part of the message. Use a say or a think bubble to do it. The bottom line is you have 2 ways to get out of the loop, and then depending on which way you get out of the loop, you also have to indicate the right message. That's the most important part of this project. So your loop gets more complicated because you're not just getting out because the right answer, because of the answer matching the number. You also have to get out because the number of tries has run out or has reached 10. Okay. And I have just given away the answer too. If you read what I just said, slowly, you will find the right operators and the right comparison operators and everything else that you need for the project. Yep, go ahead.
So do we decide what's the right answer?
It's the same way as before. So you still pick a random number from 1 to 100. So this is based on Scratch 1. So you might want to look at my solution for Scratch 1 and use that as a starting point. If you get a perfect score for your own Scratch 1, you can choose to use your own program to get started with this program, or you can choose to use my program to get started. Okay. Are there any questions? Does everybody have my solution? Yes? No? Kind of? No? We talked about it in the class. You can actually copy it from YouTube. Any questions about that? I cannot remember. Sorry?
How do we get to your
You go to my channel. So you go to right here. I'm going to use a different browser because it does not want me to log in as some profs. Otherwise, it just kind of messes things up. All right. Yep.
Roshi.
Yep. I'll get to that.
So you said if we can use our Scratch One program to
Yeah.
do this one.
Yep. So once you get to YouTube, just look for my name, which is some profs. That's my channel. So a little bit slow today. So once you get there, click some professors, and then you can subscribe to it. You don't have to subscribe to it. If you don't subscribe to it, it's just a little bit harder. If you don't subscribe, you can still browse video, and it will still display all the content. Last item displayed first. I think I forgot to upload things from last Thursday, so that stuff is still not uploaded yet. Okay, so does that answer your question? Okay. I cannot remember which day I talked about the solution of the last homework assignment. I think it's on the day it was due.
November 8th.
Okay, on the 8th. Oh, okay, so I guess it's not there yet.
When is this assignment due? This Thursday?
Next week. So you have 1 week to work on it. So I think that's a lot of time for this one. All right.
You can also get there by just typing in CISC 310.
Yep. All right. So are there any other questions about the homework assignment? Okay. So let me save this first. With additional instructions, save and return to course. And then what we'll do is we're going to move back onto where we left off with systems analysis and design. And today we'll go back to the book. We'll go back to Cengage because Cengage has a fairly reasonable chapter on this particular topic. And the next one too will be coming from Cengage. We'll talk about system life cycle and all those various points. It's going to be a little bit boring. So what you might want to do is to think about okay, I might want to create an information system for a particular purpose, and then just kind of go with that and see if it will make the content a little bit more interesting. But it is a relatively dry topic compared to some of the other topics that we have talked about. Oh, forgot the extension. And you are bored already. I'm just picking on you.
Do video game. Like I'm saying.
Oh, no, or play Xbox. I got rid of it when I moved back from Tennessee.
So this is chapter 10 in the book. Okay, so you might want to go back to the textbook and read chapter 10. I'll just kind of go ahead and get started here. So once we get started, you can also use the textbook as a reference point. We'll take a brief look here. I know it's a little bit difficult to read. Section A is talking about information system, and basically what they're for. It's really boring stuff unless you work for a state agency or a big organization where information systems is the heart of everything. It's how business is done these days. The second part, Section B, talks about systems analysis, and that's basically what the topic 6 is about. Is system development life cycle, planning phase, analysis phase, and documentation tools. And then Section C talks about just the design portion. Section D talks about the implementation. These two parts we have briefly talked about the overview. The design part is done by the architect. Remember the house, okay? So with the house, the design phase is what the architect would do, and also the engineer is also a part of the design part. Section D, implementation and maintenance. is separated into two parts. The implementation is done by the contractors, people who are actually building the house, and then maintenance is done by the painters, because they have to come back and paint the house every 2 years. The gardeners who have to come every week to mow the lawn and weed the garden and stuff like that. Maybe some other types of contractors who come in and maintain the pipes and whatnot. So that would be systems maintenance. Section E talks about data security. Essentially, okay, I don't want to go there. I just lost. No. Okay. And then the section E talks about data security, which is actually becoming more and more and more important. In the past, let's say you're talking about the social security information system. Data security was a non-issue because that system was not hooked up to the internet whatsoever. Okay, it's completely disjoint. People have to put data into the system using manual data entry. So only employees, can actually input data into the system. It's not connected to the internet whatsoever. It prints out, checks. It prints out, hard copy stuff, and that gets sent to the recipients. But these days, a lot of systems, are connected to the internet. Even though a system may not be directly connected to the internet, it may be connected to other computers in the intranet. So if someone gets into the intranet first, which is within an organization, they can go through the intranet to get to the computer that is behind the firewall that is normally inaccessible from the internet. Okay, so that's why it is kind of important to understand data security these days, because there are ways to get into a system that is completely hidden behind a firewall because of the intranet. Okay, I can give you an example. Okay, I'm just going to pick on social security here. I hope nobody works for that department because I'm just kind of picking an example here. Okay, let's just say that the system that actually prints out the checks and deal with the finances is behind a firewall, which means it is not accessible from the internet. Okay, it is completely internal to the organization. But within the organization, they have a intranet. Okay, not inter, but intranet, which means employees within the organization can access the server. Now, the same types of employees also have internet access, so that they can get their jobs done. So let's just say that one day, Joe, okay, for whatever reason, was going to a website that is actually work-related, maybe a forum, government forum website and stuff like that. But somebody posted a picture, of, let's say, a government building that has an exploit inside the picture. It's a JPEG or some other types of format, or GIF. It is possible to use a picture, an image, to infect a system. It is possible. It has been done before. So this employee, using the internet for proper working, got his own computer infected. Now, the infected computer can basically open up a backdoor so that a hacker can go through the back door to get into this employee's computer. Now, if a hacker can get into this employee's computer, this hacker will also gain access to the intranet, which is inside the organization. And then once it is inside the intranet, the computer that is sitting behind, the big server that is sitting behind the firewall is now open for all kinds of attacks. Especially if the system administrator did not think about this type of attack and think, oh, since the server is completely behind the firewall, all our employees are fingerprinted, we know where they live, so we don't have to worry about our own employee. If those assumptions were made, for security, concerns, then the system is going to be hosed. I mean, that's just, it will be gone. So that's why Section E is actually particularly important these days. Online voting, that's basically just saying, how do you know, how can you count only one vote per person? That's the question. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Are there any questions before we get started? No questions?
Roll sheet.
Roll sheet, thank you. I think the class has finally stabilized. I haven't seen any big changes for the past few times. All right. Okay, the first question is, what is an information system? can read the slide, but it's not going to help much. Okay, the first question. Okay, let me divide the question into sub-questions. Do you think an information system requires the use of computers or networking and all sorts of technology stuff? Not really, not really, because I still remember in my own college days, back in university, that's way before the computer became kind of useful. Yeah, because networking was really limited at that time, and I still remember when I have to check out books from the library, I cannot just walk up to a computer, type in the book's title, and then it will retrieve the call number, and then I know exactly where to go, because it will also display a map, which floor and exactly which shelf. So I have to go to how many people have tried to look up books before computers can look up your call numbers? Okay, so what do?
Go to the catalog.
Yeah, you have to go to the catalog, which is a big shelf with a lot of drawers, and each drawer has a lot of cards, and then the card will have the title of the book, the author and other types of information, along with the call number. So you have your own little slip of paper, you write down the call number, which is the ID of the book in the library, and then you have to go to the map of the library to find out, QA78, blah, 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 is on the 3rd floor, and then you have to go up to the floor, and then you have to walk in the aisle to try to locate the right shelf, and then once you get to the right shelf, you have to find a book, and so on and so forth. And that's an information system. What are the components of that particular information system?
Database.
The database, which is in the form of a card catalog. Yep. And what else is in that information system?
Storage. The storage part.
The storage part, it's the same thing. That's where the cards are located.
Let's talk about the books.
How did the books? Okay, very good. How did those cards get created? Because whatever is creating those cards is a part of the information system as well.
Librarians.
The librarians, very good. Okay, so the librarians are actually a part of the information system. Okay, what else? What else do you think is a part of this information system?
They index the way they catalog.
Okay.
It can be indexed by subject, or it can be indexed by alphabet.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so you're talking about how things are organized. Okay, the specification of how things are organized is a part of the information system. What about that, really huge operation manual that the librarians have to read so that they can file the books correctly? They know where to put the books, and they know how to create a call number for a new book. What about that knowledge, procedural knowledge? Is that a part of the information system? It is. Okay, that's also a part of the information system. So we are not only talking about the hardware, we're also talking about, quote unquote, the software, how to get things done, how to organize, and the procedures of getting things done. Those are all a part of the information system. And yet in this case, no computers are involved. It's all manual, and it is still considered an information system. Okay, well, that's all nice and fine, but this class is, introduction to computer science. So how do you think computers get, connected to this whole concept of an information system, which doesn't have to be computer-based? What is one thing that computers can do that, well, one of the many things that computers can do better than people? Multitasking. Okay, go ahead.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say anything? Okay, does anyone
Store
want?
memory.
Lots of memory.
Organize things in files and folders.
Okay, so I guess it's time to look into that, those particular words. The first one is important, performance. Okay, the computers may not be able to do certain things as well as we can, but they're getting there. But for certain things like locating the call number given a book title, I think the computers can do it a lot faster than we can. Is that right? Okay, so the use of a computer can improve the performance of an information system. How about economics? Which one is more costly? You have a bunch of librarians, doing all kinds of labor-intensive work, creating and indexing and fixing all those little cards, getting it to the right drawer into the catalog, versus the computer creating a new record, sticking into the database, is automatically sorted, and people can find it right away. Which one is more economical?
Second.
The second one, the computer-based system, is more economical. And that's a huge reason driving the use of computers in any type of organization, is to improve the performance and also make things more economical. What about control? Forget about this part here, just talk about control. In other words, if you have a team of, let's say, 10 librarians, okay, how can you be sure that all the librarians will do things exactly the same way as specified? It's pretty difficult, okay? Sometimes you have a good team and they will try their best to conform to the procedures as written, but what about a computer? Always, if you write a program in a certain way, the information system will always behave in a certain way. Sometimes it's wrong because whoever wrote the program did not do a very good job writing the right program, but it's very consistent. And here we have efficiency, which kind of ties into economics because it makes the system more efficient and it doesn't cost as much money. Surface, list any computing task that seem too complex or inconvenient. I can give you really a quick one. How are those index cards organized in the library in the good old days? Alphabetical order of?
Last name or author.
Okay, last name of the author. What if it has multiple authors? If it has multiple authors, it will be by the principal author listed first. Okay, but what if you only know one of the authors? Let's say there are 3 authors, like the textbook that we're using, and you only know the one who is not a principal author. That will be a little bit harder to find it, right? Okay, but it will be difficult to do with a manual system. But if the system is online, you can actually make it very simple to do, because all you have to do is to create a secondary index on all the author's name to point to those records. So you can offer better service because of computers. Are there any questions about this slide? No questions? What about daily maintenance? Because remember, with physical cards, they tear and wear, and some unhappy, students from a library may tear those cards, take those cards out entirely and not put it back in. Okay, can you do that with a computer system? In a certain way, yes. Okay, if a computer is broken into, you can lose a lot of records in no time. Okay, but given that the system is properly protected, that cannot happen. So now we can move on to the next slide. Okay, that doesn't refresh very well. Okay. I think I can still read a part of it. Let's see if I can. Is there a way to refresh it?
No.
Go back to the last page and try to look at.
Yeah, but as soon as I scroll, it's going to happen. Oh, I guess not. Yay. Okay, this part has to do with what is the organization? The organization that is going to use the information system. It talks about the official definition of an organization. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. It's a group of people working together to accomplish a goal. Okay? In the case of a library information system, what is quote unquote the organization? Okay. Which group of people, or who do you think is in a part of the group of people working together to accomplish a goal? And what is that goal?
Librarians and
okay, librarians would be the group. People who are maintaining and running the library would be the organization. And what is the goal of that organization, or one of the goals?
to organize all the books.
Sorry?
To organize all the books.
To organize all the books. Okay, but for whose sake? For the students, right? People who need to check out books. Okay, so that is the goal. So it is important to remember when you talk about the goal of an organization, a lot of times you have to tie it into what is the value of that organization, what value does it serve to other people, and you have to think about people who are, basically users of the organization, and not just the organization itself. And here it reads, organizations have accomplished amazing feats such as astronauts and da 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 da. But what you really need to understand is, any organization that seeks profit by providing goods and services is called a business, and other ones are called non-profit organizations. Now, anything that is a business, it's easy to understand its goal, right? What is the goal of Amazon.com?
Make money.
Well, profit first, right?
Yeah.
What about Google? Same thing. What about Microsoft? Same thing. What about the library, the public library, or the library of ARC? It's non-profit. Okay, so money is not the first thing. Are there any questions about this? Do you think non-profit organizations require the use of information system?
Yeah.
And why do they need the use of information system for non-profit organizations? Because they're not for-profit. It's not like they want to make money, but money is still important for non-profit organizations. Why do you think that's the case?
To run.
Yeah, basically a function of pay.
Okay. Well, how do non-profit organizations, how do they run? I mean, they have donations. They may have contributions from the government or other private organizations or individuals. Okay, but they have a limited amount of money coming in. So even though it's a non-profit organization, which means it's not trying to make a profit in the process, it still has a budget. In other words, you still only have so much money to spend every month, and you're trying to serve a purpose of whatever. My daughter just went to Happy Tails, the place that rescue kitties and cats. Okay, and so their objective is not to make money. It's not to hire more people or put more money into their pocket. Their objective is to save as many cats as possible. Okay, but given a fixed budget, they only have so much money. So now the question is, okay, let's say you're given $5,000 a month, okay, and you have to choose how to spend that money, but your objective is to save as many cats as possible. If your system is inefficient, you have to spend more time just to do the paperwork, make phone calls to people, make all the posters of different cats for adoption and stuff like that, and you won't have as much time left or resources left to get the cats, feed the cats, get the food for the cats, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, if you have an information system that is very efficient, you only have to take a picture of a cat, type a few descriptions, post it on the website, and people can see the cat right away. And you have a system to keep track of how much cat food is left, how to keep track of the short records of the cats to kind of streamline the process. Then you may have more time and more resources left to rescue even more cats. So that's why efficiency is not only important for for-profit organizations like businesses, but it's also just as important for non-profit organizations. Is that making any sense? What about the government? I know several people here work for the government. So what do you think, for the government, what is the objective of an information system?
Keep track of everything.
Keeping track of everyone. You talk about this country? Cisco has a huge customer. It's called the PRC, the People's Republic of China. They actually have Cisco. They install a huge network, data communication network, with surveillance cameras all around the place, so it can keep track of people both on the street and also inside buildings. This is really kind of interesting. I know I'm sidetracking here. My daughter went to China for a martial art tour, and there were not enough parents and too many kind of like teenagers in the group. So some people got lost in the hotel. Okay, when they do a head count, several kids were missing. And in the United States, they would have used a PA system and call the police and try to search the entire hotel for the missing kids. In China, it's easy. You just talk to the hotel people, and they have surveillance camera on every floor, every stairway, every place. So they were just looking up and go, oh, okay, I think I found your kids. She's on the top floor, trying to practice martial art or whatever. That's how they found her. Everything is time stamped, with all the information associated with it. What else? What else do you think? Why do you think the government is also a big user of information systems? Think of the Franchise Tax Board or the IRS. What do they use an information system for?
All the financial information.
Okay.
The other different pieces.
Would efficiency be an important issue with these two organizations?
Vote.
What type of efficiency are we talking about? Time. Okay. Now, what is the function of the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board, or one of the many functions of those two organizations?
Collecting tax.
Collecting taxes, enforcing tax rules and stuff like that. Okay, making sure the people who are supposed to pay taxes pay the proper amount of taxes. Right? That's its objective, or one of its main objectives. Why do you think an information system is important in this particular objective? Think of the days when the IRS does not have computers to process all the returns. Okay? How many returns do you think the IRS gets every year in April?
5.
Lots, right? Now, if you think that your 1099, easy is difficult to process, think of people who have 20 side jobs and hire nannies and stuff like that. Think of those tax returns, okay, and investments, rental income and stuff like that, business laws and stuff like that. It's not easy to process all that return. So if everything is done manually, what happens with the IRS? How many returns or how many people can they audit? Very, very few. Okay? But these days, what do you think happens when you file a return? How do you file your return last year? This year, I mean. TurboTax, okay? Okay, on your cell phone, it's e-file, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means there's no OCR involved. Everything is already in an electronic version, right? So the IRS can immediately plug in the information to its record of how much money this particular social security number has earned, from various sources. Double check everything, and also it can go through a filter to see whether some red flags is waving and say, we might need to audit this particular social security number next year. Okay, and that's all done. Guess what? Automatically. The only part that requires manual labor, or very few part that requires manual labor, is to send out the auditors to go to the businesses and say, okay, last year's tax return, it looks like this. We have some questions about this item. Can you show us the receipts of these particular items, or can you show us the 1099 miscellaneous for these particular items? Okay. So an information system is very important. What about ARC? What about you guys in this class? Are we using any information system in this class? We're using two, right? We're using Cengage, which is an information system. We're also using Moodle, which is also an information system. Okay. Next slide. Well, we just covered, most of these, topics here. What is a mission statement? Basically, what is the organization, going to do? What is its mission? And who uses information systems? Practically everybody. And then this is an org chart or organization chart. I know it's kind of hard to read the green ones. You have a CEO on top, basically in charge of the daily operation of everything. And then you have vice presidents. One is finance, one is HR, human resources, one is for operations, and one is for information systems. And within the information system part, you have the 3 divisions. We kind of talked about this already. We have the systems analysis part, which is basically combining the jobs of the architect and also the engineer into one. And you have the programmers, who are the contractors of everything, to build the system. The technicians are basically people, I guess in this particular picture, these are the system administrators, people who keep the hardware stuff up and running. Okay, we have a RAID array, and one drive is broken, so the technicians will be responsible to kind of make sure that everything is, the system itself is healthy. Do you guys want to go over the other parts of an organization? It might be helpful. Okay. Now operations. Well, let's skip operations for now and go to HR. Okay, human resources. Do you think the human resources department of any organization need to make use of an information system?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think they need an information system?
Because human resource demand is what controls hiring and firing inside a corporation, so they would need to know every single employee that's employed or will be employed.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of information do you think HR needs to track?
Demographics, geographics.
How about your paycheck?
Yeah, paycheck.
Okay, your paycheck.
Benefits.
Benefits, paycheck. If your company offers its own 401k plan, that's also a part of the HR department. So the HR department all by itself needs access to a very specialized type of information system. And without any information system to help the HR department, it's tons and tons of paperwork. Okay. What about finance? Finance, is kind of a boring subject in a certain way. You have accountants and bookkeepers under that. Okay. What is the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant?
Bookkeeper just add entries into. Accountant actually looks at the whole picture and what they actually been doing to create the reports for the higher management.
If you want to use, kind of like, semi-military terms, accountants are strategic and bookkeepers are tactical. Okay? In other words, when you have, receipts coming in, and expenditure, coming in, bookkeepers will just say, okay, how should we file this? Oh, okay, according to last year's, practice, or according to current practice, this type of expenses, should be filed under this category. And they just put it into the system under that, categorization. But who decides, where to put into those items? Okay, I just bought an oscilloscope, for a, high-tech company. How should I report the expenditure of spending money on an oscilloscope? Who is going to decide whether it's, in investment tools or rental or regular expenses? Who's going to make that decision? The accountants, exactly. So the accountants are the ones, who will study all the tax laws, okay, and then figure out the best way to report the earning and also the spending of the company, so it can report basically legally as little taxes as possible. And that's why the accountant is basically the strategic, portion of the finance. And the bookkeepers are just doing things, under the direction set up already by the accountants. Do you think it's important to have an information system on that side, the finance side? It's very important. A lot of times, the information system is actually integrated, so the HR, finance, are actually rolled into one, for many organizations. And then you have VP of operations, which is basically, using, let's not talk about this part yet. We just talked about VP of finance, VP of human resources, and VP of information systems. Do you think those 3 only exist for certain types of organizations, like a bank or, Amazon.com? Or do you think, those 3 branches exist for every single organization?
Those 3 exist for every organization.
Every organization. What about nonprofit organizations?
Yes, they exist.
Yep, same thing. Okay. Now, what about operations? Now, operations is a little bit more, specific, because under operations you have sales, marketing, and warehouse manager. And sometimes it does not apply. It depends on the organization. If an organization is completely service oriented, there's no warehouse. Okay, there's no physical goods to store anywhere. If the organization is non-profit, sometimes you don't have sales because that you're not selling anything. You might have someone in charge of PR or public relations, in charge of that to make people aware of the organization and also use its service or donate money to the organization, but it's not sales anymore. And then marketing is kind of the same thing, with a non-profit organization. You're not trying to market something. You're trying to determine how to further the mission of the organization. What about small organization and big versus big organizations? What do you think?
What do you mean?
In terms of the organization chart, do these things still exist for smaller organizations?
Yes.
It is required by law. Okay, any organization that is incorporated, for profit or not, requires to have certain key pieces to be in place before it can be incorporated. So all of these, need to be in place. Now, with a smaller organization, you might have people wearing multiple hats. Okay, so maybe you have, someone, who is wearing like 2 hats, from finance and then also in human resources. That's possible, but they still need to exist within this organization chart here. Sorry?
You mean the smaller businesses, they could, like one person could be the CEO, the COO, the CFO, and I think that's all that's going on. What's the last one? There's one more, isn't it? That you have to, that's required by law.
I cannot, the secretary?
Oh, like it's
Yeah, I think you have to have a secretary. Yep. Same thing with a student club on campus. You have to have certain key roles like the president, vice president, and the secretary. And also, those 3 have to be, appointed before you can start a student organization on campus. So this part here, has more to do with the running of an organization than an information system. And in this part, I think we have talked about already, but we'll go ahead and just kind of go through this slide here. An information system can help people perform their jobs more quickly and effectively by automating routine tasks such as reordering inventory, taking customer orders, and sending out renewal notices. Information systems can also help people solve business and organizational problems. All right. Well, think of the library, okay, because we were already using that as an example. How do you think an information system applied to a library? Reordering inventory, does that apply? Okay, because you have to order new books. Okay, taking customer orders. Is there such a thing as taking customer orders when it comes to a public library? Checking out books, requesting books. Okay. Yep. So that's definitely taking customer order. Sending out renewal notices. Well, they don't call it renewal notices. They say your book is about to be due. You have to return the book in a few days to make sure that you don't get any fines. So that's what you need to do with an information system for a library.
Did you send it to your library card when it expired?
I guess they can do that too.
They did when I thought mine was expiring.
But that's helpful.
Yeah.
Can help people solve business and organizational problems. What kind of problem do you think a library may have to deal with on a daily basis? People stealing books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or making the place all dirty.
Making the place dirty. That may not be very. The computer cannot help that much.
Yeah.
Maybe a Roomba can help a little bit. What about book stealing? Okay, people just go to the library, go see. Oh, this is a nice book. I'm just going to take it away. How do you think an information system can help in that case? I can think of at least 2 ways that an information system can be helpful.
Security on the way out.
Security on its way out? How do libraries prevent people stealing books these days? Do they tell you to kind of like do this and search?
They've got
Check your
security
bags.
devices. They put usually like a security magnetic strip in the back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically it's kind of like a RFID type of technology. I'm not quite sure, what is the technology, but when you walk through the gate of a library, you will see some kind of strange looking things. Same thing with Walmart and many other stores. So what I think is, it's sending out an alternating magnetic wave, from one side to the other side, and that energy is used to excite, a tag inside a book or merchandise, in the case of Walmart. And once that energy is supplied, there's a chip inside, the RFID chip will send out its own unique signal, to identify, okay, this is item blah blah blah, or this is book number blah blah blah. If the system has not have this book just checked out, it will sound an alarm and say, okay, this book has not been checked out, and yet it is walking out of the door. So that's how an information system can be helpful, is to stop the theft immediately. Now, let's just say that someone, for whatever reason, was able to bypass the information system and steal a book. A library can still do an inventory check and see whether the books are still there. Books that should be on shelf, are they on shelf? So an information system can still be used for that purpose. So it's very, very important to take inventory, because you need to make sure that your store has the items that it's supposed to have and not any less than the amount. And then over here it talks about what kind of problems need to be solved. And we just need to refresh the screen and this works better. The scroll bar works better than my scroll button. There are three different types of problems here. One is structured, semi-structured, and unstructured problems. Without even reading the text here, which ones do you think the computer can help the most with? Structured ones, definitely. Unstructured ones, have a known procedure for arriving at a solution. However, the process may involve some degree of subjective judgment. If you think about, in a store setting, what do you think would be one of these problems? When do you think, the cashier needs to call supervisor?
Semi-structured.
Semi-structured, but what is a particular case that requires the calling of the supervisor? Let's say at Costco. Okay, you're checking out at Costco, and the clerk needs to call supervisor. Yep.
An item's supposed to be on sale, but it's not being worn up as a sale item.
Okay.
Return or something.
Returns. Okay. A lot of times the return, especially when the returned item is not brand new or it has opened already, they need to call for the supervisor to authorize the actual return. So in that case, the computer system can only be used to record once it is approved, but the computer system cannot decide whether to approve it or not. The last one is unlikely to be able to be solved using the computers. An unstructured problem requires human intuition as the basis of finding a solution. In other words, the computer in this case, it can only be used for documentation purposes, and record the whole thing, but it cannot be used, to make the decision itself. Information relevant to the problem may be missing. In other words, the computer may or may not have the right information, and few parts of the solution can be tackled using concrete models. If experts are presented with a problem, but they disagree on the solution, it is likely an unstructured problem. In other words, it requires people to evaluate the situation, and different people may come to a different conclusion. That's what the unstructured problem is. A semi-structured problem means different experts will still arrive to the same conclusion given the rules that needs to be applied. A structured problem means you don't even need an expert. The computer system can decide on its own whether to do it or not. Now, even on this particular topic, I think technology is moving in a direction where it is shifting more stuff to structured and semi-structured, and fewer stuff is remained as unstructured. Why do you think I said that? It has something to do with my phone, actually. Has anyone installed Google goggles? Okay, so why do you think Google goggles prompted me to say that some of the problems that used to be semi-structured is now shifting its way up to structured?
Where things are being organized.
Computers are getting better abilities to evaluate things that are actually based on pictures, based on other types of input. They can now evaluate things better than before. Okay. I can give you one particular example that is kind of interesting. This is way back when I started to work about in the 90s, early 90s. So it's not new technology at all. Think about fruit picking, okay? Fruit picking. Now, this is the Central Valley, so fruit picking used to be very important and still is important in many, many areas. So let's say you're picking plums, okay? And do you think it's done by a manual process, or do you think it's done by machines now? It's done by machines, okay?
There's still, I'm sure there's still manual processes that go around.
Well, the manual process is still just people picking it into a basket, okay? Now, all these plums or all these fruits, they have to go to a store, and depending on the store, some stores are picky. They don't want anything that is slightly deformed or have any type of blemishes. So how do you make sure that you only get the top picks for an expensive store? Do you think there's an assembly line, really fast, and then people just go, okay, this one has blemishes, this one has blemishes, this one has blemishes? It used to be like that, but not anymore. Okay, and these days, with certain types of fruits or vegetable products, especially the ones that are hard enough, what they do is they shoot it into midair. Okay. And then they have like 3 or 4 cameras looking at the fruit from different angles, and then they use the images from these cameras to decide whether it should go one way or another way. So if it's perfect, or the system judges it is actually in perfect shape, it will just let it go. If it has blemishes, a puff of air will change the course of the fruit midstream, and it will land in a different basket. And it's all done automatically. Yep.
You can see that how it's made. There's actually some videos of how it's made on YouTube.
Oh, what is the title?
How it's made.
How it's made? Okay. But this technology is nothing new. It existed in the 90s when processors and all the video equipment is still very expensive, but it's worth doing it because it is saving these businesses a lot of money. Okay. So what do you think will happen to the fruit on the other basket, the blemish basket?
Tossed it out.
No, it just goes to a different store. It just goes to a different store. And then you just keep on going this process. The really, really blemished ones would go to probably animal feed or some other
Fertilization.
Sorry?
Fertilization.
Fertilization. Mm-hmm.
Wine.
Wine. I don't know about that one.
It's gonna rot anyway.
Fruit is fruit. If it's fermented, it's good enough. Now, obviously, information systems cannot solve all 3 different types of problems, but even with unstructured problems, computer information system can still be useful because it gives the organization an easy way to log the issues, how it's solved, and so on and so forth. So there's a track record of everything. Do organizations require different kinds of information system? What do you think? It depends on the size, the scale. Mm-hmm. But there are solutions out there, that you can just buy. Like PeopleSoft is a fairly well-known product for organizational information system. In other words, it's already a done solution. You just have to customize it for your own organization, which is really helpful. PeopleSoft is actually the back end of your e-services. Okay, your e-services, My Payroll is all done by PeopleSoft, at the district. So that's one of the products that you might need to look into if you want to look into canned solutions for organization information systems. Transaction processing system. It sounds so boring. Let's make it less boring. Okay, when you go to Amazon.com, this is a very good example of how things are automated from start to finish. The website itself, obviously, it is automated. It's not someone redesigning the page every time there's new product to push and stuff like that. That would be very time consuming if that's the case. The only thing that people actually have to do is to decide what do they want to promote and how do they want to generate the promotion based on your profile. So if you already have an account with Amazon and you have already bought a lot of items from Amazon, your page may not look like this when you first get to Amazon because it can be customized to fit your specific interests. Okay, so that's the first part that is automated. Now, but we are talking about transaction processing here, right? Okay, so let's go look for items here. So let's look for mechanical pencils. Mechanical pencil. Here. Okay, so let's say I want to buy this and add to cart. And let's just say that, let's pretend that I just logged in and decided to proceed to checkout. What happens after that? It's transaction processing, right?
It will get sent to the nearest warehouse, depending on your location.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will get sent to that warehouse if they have it. Then the order will go there.
But how does it know which warehouse has it or not?
Because they have an inventory system, like information system, basically.
It's a distribution system. It's a
Yeah.
goods distribution system. It's a physical good distribution system. And how do they decide which warehouse should stock what items and how much to stock at that warehouse location? Geographic is information collected over time. It's probably trade secret, considered trade secret. In other words, other organization, online merchants will probably pay someone to steal that information. It's worth stealing, okay? Because it is one of the key important part of lowering the cost of shipping, while making sure that things can ship to customers on time. Is that making any sense? So the transaction process is going to start from here. Proceed to checkout. That's the first step. So you need to first authenticate to your own account. I'm not going to do anything here. But you have to first authenticate to your own account. Once you authenticate, it will ask you, is this the order? Do you want to proceed? If you do want to proceed, or before you even proceed, it will tell you you will probably get your stuff by a certain date. That's already transaction processing, because it's using your zip code, your address, to match up with the stock level of the warehouses, of all the different warehouses. So if one warehouse that is local to you doesn't have anything in stock, it will say, okay, what is the next closest location in terms of shipping time? And it will give you a very accurate estimate of when you will get your stuff. Why do you think that's important? Because we're getting back to the mission of the organization. Amazon.com is for profit. Why do you think it is important to give customers a realistic and accurate estimate of when they will get their stuff?
It's better than waiting forever for it. It's
Mhm.
good to have a time that you know when it's coming.
Right.
So you know that you're not going to complain too early or too late.
Exactly. Okay, so if you compare this with an alternative, let's say a competitor of Amazon, who cannot give customers an accurate arrival time of their stuff, people may pick Amazon.com even if it is slightly more expensive, because they know, okay, if it says I will get it tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will get it day after tomorrow. At least I can schedule time, I can get off work maybe earlier to wait for UPS if it requires authorization, and so on and so forth. It just makes everything easier when you have more information.
It's more convenient. Convenience.
Convenience, you can count on it. Okay, if you need something, let's say on Friday, and Amazon says, the best I can do is Saturday, you know that, okay, maybe I should not order it from Amazon this time because it's not going to arrive on time. With another online merchant, if they don't give you a shipping time, an exact shipping time, and they say, 2 to 4 days, then you will say, well, maybe I'll get it on time. I'll just order that anyway. And then you don't get it. Will you be happy? Will you be any happier than with Amazon, who tells you, no, you're not going to get it on Friday. It will arrive on Saturday. Which one is better?
I'll be happier, I guess, to know.
Knowing ahead of time, right? So you know that Amazon cannot make it on Friday, but that's not Amazon's fault. It's just because of shipping. Maybe there's a storm in the East Coast and it has to ship out of the East Coast. Okay.
Well, it usually gives a time period. It doesn't say exactly what day. Like when I bought my book, it said it was like between the 1st and the 5th. So you don't know really when you're going to use it exactly.
With a Prime membership, it tells you almost exactly the date.
Oh, yeah. Prime is like 2nd day.
Right. But it's not guaranteed. Well, Amazon tries its best for 2nd day, but sometimes when it's out of stock, it's out of stock. So it will still give you an indication. Will ship usually within how many days? Because if it doesn't have it in stock, it cannot guarantee the 2nd day shipment anymore. Okay. So let's just say that we have located a warehouse. Which one is the closest one that can ship out the item? What happens after that?
The machine will pick it up from a shelf.
Exactly. It's not like a person in a really big warehouse, trying to run a little forklift, to find the right item. A robot, basically, will go to the right place to locate it and get it out of the place. What about that box, that little smiley box, from Amazon? Okay, who gets to pick what size of a box to put those items into?
The machine is not.
The machine does it too. Yep. The only thing a person really has to do is to pack the item in, make sure it's cushioned correctly, and after that, I will bet you another machine is used to tape it up and put a label on. And that's why they can make things so inexpensive, because they can put a warehouse where rent or property land is cheap. Okay, so instead of putting a warehouse in, say, San Francisco, right? They can put one in who knows where. You look up the return address of Amazon stuff. Okay. There's one in Nevada, close to California, and that's why most of the orders from California are shipped from Nevada, because the shipping time is really quick, and yet they don't have to pay a lot of money in Nevada, for properties, for the warehouse itself, and also for the corporation itself too. Are there any questions about the transaction processing here? No? Once it leaves the warehouse of Amazon, which means that the FedEx truck, pay the visit, or UPS truck, pay the visit to pick up the items. When the item is picked up, do you think anything special happens? So let's say all the stuff, all the boxes are ready to go. Yep.
There's tracking on the packages now.
There's tracking on the packages. Now tracking, they're tracking from Amazon's own perspective, so they can record when something is out the door, okay, before it gets onto the truck, UPS or FedEx or whatever. And then once it gets onto FedEx, FedEx has its own tracking system, and Amazon actually keeps track of that as well. Okay, so once the package is out the door, Amazon also tracks the progress of the delivery every step it goes along. That's why when you log into your Amazon account and you look up your orders, you can actually see right away when that stuff will be, what is the expected delivery date of a particular item. Okay, so is that the end of the transaction system? Yep.
They have to update inventory.
Oh, they have to update inventory as soon as you pay for it, as soon as it's ordered. Now here's one question. There's only one package of mechanical pencils left, and two people click, I'll purchase it now at the same time. What happens?
Whoever has the faster batteries gets it.
Whoever gets to it first, whoever is registered in the database first will get the item, and the other person will get back ordered. Yep. Okay, very good. Let's just say that you received the item. Okay, UPS says, this package is now delivered. Is that the end of the transaction processing system? Nope, because what if you open up the package and that's not what you want? Then what do?
Send it back.
You have to send it back. Do you have to call up Amazon.com and explain to spend half an hour to explain why the $5 mechanical pencil package is not what you want and why they should ship you something else? What do you do?
Go online. Ask
Go.
for another shipping tracker to ship it back.
Exactly, and that's all done automatically. Do you think the system requires supervisor approval and stuff like that? I bet you they have a system in place where things that are more expensive will pop up, and say, okay, I need a human to approve it, or if there's an account, where someone buys 100 items and out of the 195 are returned, they probably will pop up to a human too, to say, okay, something is not right here. But if it's something inexpensive and you have not really returned much, as a track record, as a history, I will bet you the system just approves it and generate a label so that you can return it right away. But what if someone is trying to scam the system? Take out one mechanical pencil out of the package and return the rest.
Well, when it gets shipped back to the Amazon center itself, they will evaluate the package.
Right.
And your claim that you made online.
Right. But do you think they will come after you with one missing mechanical pencil?
It's too much.
It's not worth their money. Yep, exactly.
You clicked on a pack of mechanical pencils for $6.
Yep.
One mechanical pencil is what, 20 cents? It's not worth it.
Well, they cannot sell the entire package anymore.
Yeah.
But
They
it's
can
still
always
not
sell it
worth their
separately.
time to process
Uh-huh.
them, to come after you. Only when it becomes a pattern, they think it is worth the time to come after you because they're going to lose more money in the future. Then they will come after you because it becomes a pattern. Very good. So here we have all the different types of things that require computer processing. If you look at this picture here, this says inventory, and it shows a person driving a forklift in a warehouse. That's not how Amazon works. It's all automated at Amazon. Are there any questions at this point about transaction processing? And I think Amazon, presents a very interesting example because it is both electronic, web-based, and yet it is all physical. You're not just, ordering a software, download it to install it, where it's all electronic. This one does, Amazon does require, some sort of physical contact with physical goods. And it shows you, the efficiency of the system too. How can Amazon sell stuff, at the price that they're selling? Sometimes I'm kind of amazed, by, I mean, you can compare Amazon's price with, eBay, and Amazon can almost beat eBay every single time, especially with new items. And that's with second-day shipping too. And the generous, return policy. I'm not promoting Amazon here. I'm just, kind of amazed at the efficiency of the organization. How they can, even turn a profit with, the cost that they're, with the price they're setting. Any questions at this point? No questions? Okay. Well, we are close to the end of this class. So before I, stop the class, end the class today, I want you guys to kind of just think about it. Okay. Every time you log into a system to do anything, think about, all these things that we have talked about. Okay. Which organization are you interacting with? What is their mission? What are they trying to do? And why do you think a computer system is important to that organization? So just kind of think about those things, every time you log into something, because if it requires authentication, it's an information system already, for sure. Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys go a little bit early today. I'll see you on Thursday. And don't forget the homework assignment. You might want to get started a little bit early. Thank you.
So with all those things that you, oh, go ahead.
With the no homework thing, is that